You're sleeping peacefully, and then all of a sudden you wake up in the middle of the night. You have to turn the lights on right away and get out a notepad to write down this brilliant game idea that just came to you from seemingly out of nowhere. You're a creative spirit and you believe that games are the epitome of art, combining storytelling and music and visual arts and coding to make this pinnacle of everything that is what you love combined. And you want other people to experience this idea that just came to you and you feel so passionately about it. But you question, should I make this game alone? Or would it be better to form a team and have people to rely on and collaborate? Or would that make the experience more muddled and less true to my vision? I've questioned this and I've had this exact same experience many times, and I know many people who have, and I find it quite fascinating actually, the different results that can come out of a game when it's just one person's singular idea versus if it's a bunch of people's collaboration, and then if it's AAA and it's a muddled idea of thousands of people. This is what I want to talk about today. I have a lot of experience making both solo projects, not only in games, but in other forms of media as well, and I've also had quite a few team experiences. And I have a good opinion based on what kind of project you're working on, whether it's better to stay alone or form a group. So let's get into that today. But first, before we start, this is not a solo project. I am Helena and I'm the studio director of CozyCat Games, where we're developing a cozy baking game called Madame Fifi's Bakery. And this has been a year's worth of work so far. And we want to continue and make this a full product. There's a free demo to play in the description. We're doing a Kickstarter campaign right now where we're trying to get 55,000 Canadian dollars. There's a bunch of really cool tiers that you can pledge to get an art book, Kickstarter exclusive outfits. You can get a recipe book, posters, calendar. You can even design a customer that's going to be in the game or a pastry that's going to be in the game. And it's an all-female studio. So if you want to support more women in game development, please go down to the description to both play the game and to pledge to our Kickstarter. I appreciate each and every one of you. Even if it's just $1, it really helps us in the algorithm, the fact that more people are pledging. So thank you so much. You only have 17 days left to do so. And if we don't get the funding required, we unfortunately won't be able to continue development of this particular game. So thank you very much in advance. The very first thing that you need to ask yourself, is this my first game? I mean, you know the answer to this. Is this your first time programming? Is this your first time opening a game engine software? I think that you shouldn't do it alone, especially if it's your first project. You might say to yourself, oh, but isn't that a great way to learn, to just kind of go all in? And while yes, it is a great way to learn to actually do rather than just to research for hours, it will be very, very difficult and very laborious when it doesn't need to be. Trust me, the best game to make for your first game is going to be a shitty little game. That's something that I've said before in my video, So You Want to Make Games. So I think that the best game to start with is a game that already exists. Make a Tetris remake, make a Super Mario Bros. Remake, make a Pokemon remake, like just the battle system of Pokemon remake. Make something that already exists so you can follow a tutorial and really try to do it yourself. Honestly, even if it's your second game, I wouldn't do it yourself. The process of making a game requires so many different parts of not only the brain, but the intelligence, and it requires you to do 10 people's job at the same time. You need to be able to do art. You need to be able to make music. You need to be able to program. You need to be able to tell a story. You need to be able to build things. You need to be able to it's so many things, like all at the same time. And the fact that one person can be good at that is, first of all, highly unlikely. And second of all, even if you try to do that, it will take you forever. If it's not your first game though, if this is something that you've done for a while, you have your hands on the steering wheel, I guess. I don't know how to explain this expression. Basically, I would say asterisk, maybe a good idea. The thing with solo projects is that you don't have a sounding board, right? You don't. If you run into an obstacle, the only person you can turn to is yourself. If you have game dev friends, sure, you can turn to them, but they're not as deeply invested in the project as you because they don't get to sign their name on the credits. And don't underestimate the power of signing your name on a credit. As soon as someone gets to say that they made something, they're gonna invest so much more energy into it. If you're just helping out your friend, you're a lot less inclined to go into nitty-gritty details, even if they are a really good friend of yours. That's why I really suggest for the first maybe 5-10 games that you make, not to make them alone. I've tried to make a game alone before. I've tried to make a story alone before. I've tried to make a webcomic alone before. And every single time I am a hyper independent person. I'm the eldest daughter. I am extremely independent and overachiever personality. But even I couldn't get past the roadblocks that come up when you're making a game because it's one of the highest to surmount, honestly. So I recommend for the first few projects to make it in a team. Other benefits of making games in a team include you can diversify your knowledge because you get to know what people don't necessarily explain on the internet. There's so much innate value that comes from testing out something yourself. We agree on that, right? But if you have a friend who's also tested things out themselves, just imagine you're going at 2x speed forward, you know? Like they have all that knowledge and you have all that knowledge. So you can like take two people's experience and combine that into one. How much time are you saving? Also, it is so isolating sometimes to be programming at your computer hours of the day. Sometimes we need to touch grass. I don't know if that's relatable. We need to go and interact with people, and having people that you can talk about with your game concept with is really valuable. I found here in Montreal, I studied game development in college, and I was very, very fortunate to be in a classroom full of like-minded people. But every single person who enters game development and who's interested in being a game developer is in it for a slightly different reason, which is what I also find to be so beautiful about the medium. So it's really cool when you can collaborate with someone who has a different life experience and wants to bring something different to the table and make something together. It speeds up your work process, and it also makes you feel more fulfilled because you get to talk with other humans, and that's why you're making games in the first place, isn't it? It's not just to improve your skill set, it's because you want to convey something to the human population. And you can do that actually by being on a team, and you're already enjoying yourself on the process of making the game. You're not just banging your head at your computer screen. So I am a big advocate for not making games alone. But let's talk about the pros of making a game alone. One obstacle that you might run into when you are making a game in a team is the split of, like, first of all, revenue, if you commercialize the project. Second of all, of credits. I have encountered a few times people taking credit for my work. It has not been fun. It leaves an icky feeling in your mouth, and honestly, it kind of ruins friendships sometimes. You need to be working with people that you genuinely trust and that you believe that they are having integrity, even when you work on game jams. Also, game jams, great first idea for games. I forgot to mention that before. What a game jam is, it's basically typically 48 hours, but it can be any length of time. And you are given a prompt and you need to form a team and make a game in that time. It kind of incentivizes making games quickly without overthinking. So if you're making a game jam, sure, you're not going to be able to know your teammates well beforehand, but still, it is helpful to know that you trust the people that aren't going to take your credits for the game, you know? So that's one thing that happens when you're in a team that you will never experience when you're alone, because you're the one who gets the full credits. Also, there is a huge culture of, you know, Dan Salvato, your Toby Fox, Eric Barone, solo developers that made their name and became celebrities in the indie game scene, and therefore, as an extension, in the internet as a whole, because they are praised as these almost godlike figures who created these worlds alone. How much closer can you get to God himself or herself? So I think that basically it is interesting to identify what it is that you're looking for from making games. Are you looking for the praise? And it's totally okay if you are looking for the praise. Own it. Own it. You can be allowed to look for praise. If you want to be the next Toby Fox, just say it. You know, you gain nothing by making yourself smaller and denying what you truly want. And it's so possible for you to do that. Just know that it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to do that achievement than if you were to do it on a team. So I think the number one thing, honestly, the takeaway from this video that I want you to get is identify your priorities. Why are you making games? Is it because you want to tell a story? Or is it because you want to embody yourself as some sort of figure in the internet? Also, it's important to identify, do you already have friends in game development, or are you really alone at this point? If so, if you want to have friends, don't deny that either. Just be like, hey, I'm not where I want to be right now socially. And make the effort to actually reach out and make friends, because it is so possible to make game development friends. Even if you don't live in a city like Montreal, like where I live, and it's a huge game development hub, you can make friends online, even if you live in a little town. You know, Thomas Brush, I think, comes from a little town, and he made so many friends just like virtually and by making his games that called people to become his friend and become in his circle. So I think that it's really a fascinating thing to identify what your motives are for making games and therefore adjust whether you want to make it solo or in a team. But I am a big, big, big advocate. I think that the only reason why you shouldn't make a game in a team is if you really want the recognition of being a solo developer and a god in some sense, and no shame in it. No cringe in it. Cringe is a side effect of future success. I'm not judging. Like, I encourage that. I want that to be said. But I think that that is a big thing in our culture on YouTube especially. So that's all I had to say. Make sure that you play the free demo in the description and you pledge to our Kickstarter if you're able to, because we are really passionate about making this game. We are a group of 4 women, so we aren't solo, but we are still very, very passionate about making this come to you guys. And Yeah, honestly, it would mean the world because I've seen how much people really love playing our demo, and it would be a shame if we don't bring it to a full product. So thank you again for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a little bit of a discussion, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you want to see from me next. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.